I've mentioned this already, but let me emphasize it again. There is no secret sweet spot in the simulation that if you just hit it, you're sure to win. So all the strategies we've been talking about in the course are all viable. The one I don't think is viable is if you were to go to a focus strategy and say, I'm just going to concentrate on the Americas, for example. I've never had anybody really go all in and try that. I don't think it would work. But if somebody wants to try that, for example, go ahead. You're just taking the risk, and I've not seen focus works. So again, what matters? Position, trade-off, fit. You need to get sales, and you need to well execute your plan to get those sales so that you're spending your money wisely, and that you are producing your shoes as cheaply as possible, consistent with the position that you've selected, and that you're handling the logistics very well. All of those things matter, and they're all affected by what your competitors are doing region by region. So you can't bury your head in the sand. I want to tell you just briefly about what drives sales. First, the branded sales forecast screen, one that we'll take a look at a little bit later, is very valuable to you, because that actually, and this is probably by far the most unrealistic aspect of BSG, but that branded sales forecast screen uses the same algorithm that the computer program uses to do the actual competition. And I'll talk about why your results differ a little bit later. So you can get a very accurate look, given certain conditions, of what's going to happen to your sales as you wiggle these things. But what drives your sales? We start with the big three: price, SQ, and then the product line breadth, which is the number of models. People underestimate the power of the number of models. Now, there's significant cost issues associated with driving up your models, but don't forget, all three of those things are the most powerful, and I'm not going to say one is more powerful than the other. They are all very powerful in driving the demand for your shoes. If from my observations, a little bit below that, or maybe even substantially below that, is the amount of money you invest in advertising. Now, keep in mind how the simulation does what it does. What it does comparative matching. So let me tell you where advertising could take on a really big role. If companies were running the same SQ at the same price with the same number of models, the big three have just been pushed out in terms of importance of allocating market share because they're all the same. Now, that's not going to really happen, but you get my point. So then what it would turn to? Well, now you've got advertising is probably the next biggest driver. But I want to give you a caution. Typically what firms do, they get into price wars and they get into advertising wars. And both of those can be very destructive. I have seen companies spending obscene amounts of money in their marketing campaigns and have no appreciation that they're way overspending, that they could pull a lot of money out of that, make some other small changes, and make a whole lot more money in the process. So after the big three plus advertising, I put down there the number of retailers. These are the number of people that are selling your shoes. Do not voluntarily surrender retailers, even though there is a cost for maintaining them. And this is, if you will, the memory from year to year in the system. So what you did last year is going to drive in large part how many retailers are willing to stock your shoes this year. And your sales this year will definitely be affected by how many retailers are carrying your shoe. Then celebrities are important because they have celebrity appeal, and those will fit up with the advertising. This can be a very powerful driver of demand along with the advertising. Then you get into rebates, shipping time, retailer support. All of these things are all factors, and they cost real money. So those are things that you're going to play with. But you'll find that rebates or retailer support are not going to overcome a weakness, for example, in the big three in terms of your demand. So the more you get things optimized, the more you're going to look to these sorts of issues, and they're going to add a little bit to your bottom line when you get them right, or you're going to lose a little bit when you don't have it right. And then also it looks at online sales. So you don't want to just surrender the online market, because your sales, branded sales in a region, are driven by your online sales as well. As you read the student manual, you're going to see some discussions of a 3-year plan. Just know that I don't use the 3-year plan, so you don't need to worry about that. These are the decisions that you're going to be making. I'm going to walk you through the screens in a few minutes to explain them on other videos, but basically you're going to build the shoe. You're going to decide what kind of shoe you're going to build, and you're actually going to do the construction of it, the manufacturing. You're going to figure out how you're going to market it. You're going to figure out how you're going to ship it. Then you're going to figure out how you're going to finance your company. You're going to make corporate social responsibility decisions. The most important bullet on this slide, though, is the one on the bottom. All of these things, there's a lot of data and facts involved with, well, how does this play and what's the trade space here? What influences this? There is a lot of help available on the screen. So when we go in, I'll show you and click on, well, this is what a help screen looks like, and it's searchable like a PDF. So you can go to the help screen, look for a keyword that you're trying to research, and it will guide you quickly. I'll be honest, if you ask me a question, many times you will see that I will go to the help screen and look it up, because this is such a complicated simulation. There's still a lot I don't remember, or I never even knew in the first place when it comes to the details. So there is help on the details, and sometimes when you're making decisions, those details are very important. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is the idea of scoring and investor expectations. A couple of things. I don't like to refer to the simulation as a game. It is a game, but I want you to treat it seriously. I want you to act like it's your business. Next is, you're going to see this cosmic scoring matrix, and I'm going to explain to you why I've made some of the modifications I have, but what I want you to really walk away with is, when you make money, when your net income is higher than everybody else's, all of the stuff below is going to work out better for you. These are all highly intercorrelated factors. The point is make money. So there's earnings per share. Now think about what that is. Earnings per share. So earnings are important. Number of shares are important. Return on equity. So earnings are important. The amount of equity outstanding is important. The stock price. The stock price is 50% of the score. Why do I structure it that way? Because the stock price has the least memory in it. So this is going to allow a team to do very poorly in the first couple of years, get their act together, get on a roll, and some of their poor performance in the early. Not all is forgiven, but some of it is forgiven. The image rating is only 10% of your score. The image rating is driven by the SQ of your shoes, by your market share, and also by your CSR, corporate social responsibility. This is the only place that your CSR shows up. Some of you have very strong emotional feelings about corporate social responsibility. That's great. Be very careful about dumping $5, $6, $7 million a year into this, because in terms of your long-term profitability as a business, it's not going to make that big of a difference. Notice I've grayed out the credit rating. I've actually removed the credit rating from the automated scoring system. You go, oh, what I heard him say was credit rating doesn't matter. Not the case. Credit rating matters a lot because it affects your cost of borrowing. So if you have debt, it matters. The reason I took it out of the scoring is because it gave you, basically it incentivized you to automatically go to an A credit rating, and the only way to get there was to get rid of all your debt. Getting rid of all your debt isn't necessarily the right answer for your company. In fact, I'd say it's not often the right answer for your company, so I wanted to remove that incentive. There are some bonuses involved. Bullseye, if you are good at forecasting, and that's very important to help you out. Leapfrog, if you make a tremendous improvement. But again, what I want you to get out of this is, if you make money, if you have high income, all of this stuff is going to work out in your favor. The next video, I'll talk about how do you get started in this simulation. Join me then.